Well, hello there. She's going to join me in just a moment, the amazing Miriam Chemmoss, who brings music and movement and beauty and creativity to life, to everyone's life. And I'm so excited to bring her on next. So without further ado, the amazing Miriam. Wait, we'll do the, we'll even add the sound effects. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can I just say, you are a delight and a surprise, because every time I talk to you, every time I see you, I'm always delighted by your stories and surprised by the awe of you and the things that you share, because your life is so beautiful and so unique, and you have so many lessons that women can learn from you. You came on the stage with us at Women Getting Visible this past October for the first conference. You performed for us. You showed us a little bit of African dance, and you told us your story. And can I just say, you could hear a pin drop, because everyone was hanging on every word that you had to share. And I'm just happy to know you.
My God. Oh, kind. Too many compliments.
Oh,
Thank you. Seriously, if there was one event that I was so glad to attend, it was that one, because I just felt like it was my tribe. You have always been that person that I looked up to, and always positive, high vibes. And so I knew whoever you were going to bring together to be there, the audience was going to be the audience that would allow me to be myself. And I hadn't been on stage for so long, so it gave me something to look forward to share this new version of myself. And the growth that I had made since I last maybe interacted with you. And going back, I mean, I have to say this because I don't think I said that enough during the event. I met you, or I was introduced to you at a very crucial time in my life. I had just lost my mom. And it was a time that I had just realized that my creativity would have to save me from the downward loop that I was on. I was grieving my mom, and I didn't know how to shake off all that grief. It was so much. It was so heavy. I started feeling heavy, like that's what depression is, like, I guess. And I said, I have to move my body. I have to do something. I know what works. And then I thought to myself, I said, in Africa, especially some of the Africans that I've interacted with who do music, the Congolese, Congo is known as the hub of music. You hear their music played all over Africa. When I was growing up, you heard the Congolese guitar everywhere. We watched the videos, they're dancing. I've never met a depressed Congolese person. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to a dance studio, and I'm going to dance all this heaviness off. And I kept asking around for a dance studio, and I was asking everywhere around. And I looked at a few places. I was very picky about what space I wanted to do, because I knew I would be there daily. And so when I found you, it was just perfect. And what you provided for me was a space that helped me heal and helped me use my own gifts and talents to heal myself and to teach others how to do that for themselves. So when you asked me to come for that event, I was like, of course. Of course.
It's incredible because, no one knows what's going on inside, especially those of us who know how to be on the stage and present and turn it on when we need to. And what's so beautiful is, even through the pain you were going through, I had the pleasure of getting to see you dance live. And anybody who's watching, knows you have those videos that you'll pop out of those times when you're dancing, and I will watch. I might be scrolling, but then there's Miriam's video, and I stop and I watch, and I'm like, oh my goodness, the beauty and the movement and the just joy and pleasure that you have in your face. I mean, wow, I can't even imagine,
But this is,
that
Christina, that's not
transformation.
feeling on the inside. On the inside, I was in pain, in a lot of turmoil, But what the dance was doing for me was releasing it all, and layer by layer, it was revealing whatever you were seeing. Even when I watched them, I'm like, I can't believe it's the same person, because that's not how I felt. you know yeah, so it worked. The dance worked really well. And before that, I was just home sitting on the couch, very, very depressed. I just sat there, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I stopped singing, I stopped dancing, I stopped writing, I was writing, but the writing wasn't enough. I did journal daily, and it was some of the best stuff that I ever wrote. Some of my friends who've known me for a long time were like, oh, please don't stop. Just keep journaling, keep writing. And I was like, I'm putting this out there. I know it's too much, but how I feel right now, if I don't do this, I'll just lose my mind, because there were so many things that were happening on a personal level. There was so much pain that I was processing. One of my friends asked me, said, why did you stop singing? Why did you stop performing? And he was an established musician. He was just asking me on a message. And I said, I'm grieving. And he said, that's when you're supposed to be doing it. You never stop. The creativity is what is your medicine. It's what's going to help you. As an artist, you are depressed because you stopped performing, you stopped creating. And so I said, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that. And then I thought about, wow, I've never met a depressed Congolese. Although when I tell them that, they say, oh, Miriam, we're there, we're depressed, but we just don't show it. They say, there's some, we're there, because there's so much going on in their country. There's so much strife, but somehow the music out of that area is phenomenal music. And it felt, there's so many stories that I've shared with you and on social media. At the same time, when my mom passed, I decided to do my ancestry DNA. And it turns out I have 11 to 14% Congolese DNA. I have so many different kinds. But then I was like, oh, this makes sense why their music, I go into a dance trance when I hear that music. Maybe I hear it and it activates my DNA, because there's nothing more activating for me. I dance to all kinds of music. I've done different kinds of training for dance when I went to college. My first time in college, I came here when I was about 19, and I went to dance class, and the first class, within 30 minutes, I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I was very frustrated. And the teacher called me. She said, where are you going? I said, I don't think I can take this class. She said, no, why? I said, I'm not used to counting steps and mentioning, plie, or that's how I've grown up dancing. It's just a different kind of learning that I did. We did dance, a lot of dance in school. We were taught dances, and traditional and modern, but I never counted steps the way we were doing it in class. And she said to me something that I'll never forget. And I want to share this for all dancers and other creative people, because it kind of encompasses all kinds of creativity. She said to me, you're used to dancing by inspiration.
Mm.
The music and you follow it, which is really nice, right? But what I teach here is technique. And if you can learn technique and you use it with your inspiration and you combine it, you're going to be a genius. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to start learning, open your mind to learning technique. Apply the same thing with music, learn technique, learn classical music, learn all the stuff you're supposed to learn, the basics of whatever it is, and then combine it with your inspirational abilities, and then combine the two. And so when I tried that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't quit that class.
Yeah, that's incredible because it's and I understand that there are those of us who have natural abilities before we get to the technique. And
Yeah.
so putting this, it's like almost taking that big colorful wheel and going, now we've got to narrow it down to one color.
So I
But
learned how
yeah.
that counting is important.
Hmm.
The steps, it's so mathematical, just like music or technique and art. Once you learn the theory, the history of how art developed, and then you combine it with your own natural, ability to respond to the art or bring it forth, it just becomes something that, definitely will transcend even your own understanding. Because when I was at the studio, I was like, okay, I'm just in pain. I'm going to dance to whatever. And then I was like, no, no, no. I'm going to learn this traditional Congolese stuff. So I would play a lot of the Congolese music. I did try other African songs and, different countries, but I came back to Congolese maybe because of my own, the DNA, the DNA. And they also have technique. So when I learned how to dance to this music with a band in New York in my 20s, I was in a band called the Suku Stars, and these were legendary musicians. I'm going to mention them in case some of them listen to this. They're all my mom's generation, Nguma Lokito, and recently we lost Lokasa Yambongo. And then there was Shiko Mawatu, who's now in Canada. And then they would bring in all these guest artists from the Congo, and they would come and we would do shows, and I would have to learn the music. I don't speak French, I don't speak Lingala, but I had to learn these songs in their languages. And what I learned about hearing music that you don't understand lyrically is that you pay attention more to the music. So then the drums and all the percussion, the every instrument is so much more it's louder, and you're able to follow it because you don't really understand what they're talking about. And usually I would ask them about the song after I have learned it. But learning music that I didn't understand, that was in other languages, and learning how to dance from these Congolese experts, stars, they're legends, really, really helped me become my own performing artist. And so I always have to give credit to these musicians that helped me. When I turned 24, I was in New York and I started learning from them daily. I took a train every day from Manhattan to Staten Island. It
Oh.
was a hour ride. And then once I got there, I had to take a bus and then take a cab and walk up the hill. And then I'd be back home by 8 a.m. every single day.
Wow.
Christina, I put in the work. Like, it's not just me walking there and dancing in the studio, like, oh, yeah, yeah. I put in the work. When I tell you, these people, we rehearsed daily for hours and hours and hours. Um, and when sometimes I say, Miriam, stop dancing too much. Now you got to do the singing more. Okay, no, now you got to dance more. And they would train me in ways, and they're like, wow, you must be Congolese. I didn't know then that I had all these Congolese DNA, but I knew these were the right people to teach me. And they woke up, started playing guitar in the morning. They didn't do anything else. They breathed music.
Yeah.
And, they they all lived in one big house, and the rest of us who lived elsewhere would travel to where they were. There was a Polish girl who played the keyboard, and then there was me. There were no other women. The rest were men. And they woke up and practiced. You know, Nguma told me several times, he said, everybody in Congo, as soon as they're 9 years old, they know how to play the guitars. You know, music is that much, it's so important in that culture. So I learned the discipline and the consistency from them. Even years later, when I went solo, I have never forgotten how they taught me to approach my performing art. It was something that I did when I came to your dance studio, left feet. It was like, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of hours and I'm going to do this. I had planned it before I came to the studio, because when you're paying for a studio, you don't have all the time to do all the things you want to do. So I would practice at home. I would watch videos over and over. I would look at different techniques from the 90s to the 80s to the late 2000s, and then pick out whatever I felt was good, practice a little bit. And then when I came to the dance studio, it was specifically for recording purposes. And I still have so much footage to this day that I haven't shared. But I did that for weeks. I think it was like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and it was obsessive. Like, nobody really understood what I was doing. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I know it made me feel better every single day. And within 6 months, I just felt like a different person. I was like, oh, I need to create a dance therapy thing with this thing, you know. And then I started getting invited to dance workshops where people were learning how to do Congolese dance and African music. That time, or African dance hadn't become really as big as it is now, but a lot of people were learning, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is so complex, the music is so complicated. And I would explain to them that African music is polyrhythmic. So whereas music in the West is very predictable, you know, it's a certain way, it's the technique is very predictable. With African music, it's polyrhythmic, and like Congolese music can be 7 minutes for a song. And, you know, they have like 2 different kinds of climaxes in the song. Sometimes, you know, it's so random how they change the rhythm. But you don't have to learn the song like the way you would learn maybe a Michael Jackson song here and say, oh, I'm going to do a dance routine to a Michael Jackson song, and you follow it. With Congolese music, every part can be danced differently, and it's like a part on its own. And so what I decided to do was, if I was going to teach this, or at least showcase in the dance studio, I was going to use music that was simple. So I chose instrumental music without the singing and all that stuff that kind of discourages people, because they're like, oh, I don't know, what is that, what is he saying, what is he doing? So just instrumental music, and let the dancers do their own interpretation. And I found that it was much simpler, and then people started responding, and they're like, wow, I like that, what is that about? I'm like, I don't know, we're just following the music. We're just following it.
Yeah, let your
So
body tell the story of what it's feeling at that moment. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Wow. So what's next for you? I mean, you have so many creative things going on all the time. You know, there's, you know, in all of our lives, there's that quiet moment before the next burst. And, you know, I've watched your waves, and I'm always so intrigued every time. I'm like, oh, something's coming, something's coming.
Sometimes I know something's coming, sometimes I don't. I'm really one of those people who, for a long time, I plan as much as I can. I grew up in the military, which is a very interesting thing. I haven't met any other artists who grew up in the military, but I think it gives me an advantage. Sometimes not so much. I think it makes me a little bit rigid because because I've had people tell me this, you need to let loose a little bit more. But my military background, when I say my military background, is my father was the one in the military and I was a military brat. But we had rules and structure that was very rigid. We ate at a certain time, we slept at a certain time, we did things at different times. And I haven't been able to shake that off my life, however much I try. And I'm doing that to my kids, and they find it so annoying. But so artists, there's a lot of planning that I do. I say I'm going to do this because I have so many things that I do. I juggle so much, and I want to do them all. I don't think that, I should just focus on this. So I go by how I feel.
Yeah.
And I know that, I wake up one day and there's a lot of music coming through. I get a lot of my music by inspiration. So I know, okay, I have to focus on this music and I have to be disciplined about it. So I will change my schedule according to what's going on in my life. So I know I have to take care of the house. I have kids now. So I will plan my life to either be nocturnal or the opposite. So if I have to do regular life during the day, at night, I know I have to do my music, and that's all night. When it's time to go to the studio, it'll be like 6 months of recording, and I will schedule night studio sessions, and I will work with a producer who has the same schedule, or we'll do during the day, and then I have my nights to myself. And then usually we'll finish the project and I'll come to a place where I say, okay, I have to stop it because now I have to do my writing because there's a lot of writing happening. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have downloads of writing that I have to put down. So then I will put the music project on hold, and then I'll be writing, and I'll write for a few weeks, a few months until that writing fever is gone. And then there are times where it's like I wake up and there are like 20 messages from people demanding or requesting that I show up to perform. And then I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to dedicate the next 3 months to preparing for shows. So then I have a schedule, and sometimes it's very rigid, I'm learning techniques from people. I have 2 hours of learning. I have 2 hours in the studio. I have 2 hours outside where I go walking, or sometimes I like to go and practice my singing and at the beach where nobody can hear me, but the wind is so strong and the loudness of the ocean makes me have to belt and sing loud. So I have all these things that I've been doing all my life without knowing that I was doing them.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a time where I see, there are a lot of messages from filmmakers who want me to do some films. I'm going to do this one. No, I'm not going to do this one. I'll do this one and this one. So I'm going to stop everything else and I'm going to work on these characters for this film that I've accepted. And so people wonder, how does she juggle being an actress, a singer, a dancer, a writer, and a regular human being with children?
And a business owner.
It's a juggling act that I've been doing all my life. I was that kid that was double majoring in college. I was in choir. I was in international choir. I was doing theater productions, so we needed to rehearse every day. I had like 10 things going on. I didn't even have time to date in college. There was no time. There was no time to date. So I'd say that I don't know any other way, because somehow nothing is conflicting in my schedule. I just know that when you're doing it that way, the way that I'm doing it, it's very fulfilling. And when it slows down, I know that I have to rest, and my mind and my body need to rest. And I just have to, when there's nothing going on, I also appreciate those moments. And, I disappear for months or years, where I'm just learning to absorb from my environment, and learning to see what I can take from regular life as inspiration.
Yeah. And it's just to listen to it, I'm in such awe. I mean, I'm in awe of you anyway. And I'm so happy you're in my life and you're my friend. But to hear all these pieces of the creativity and, the downloads that you constantly get, because I get it. I understand what that flow is, because it's like, the capacity, and some people don't understand from that creativity mind, is the capacity to hold on to so many pieces all at once and juggle them. So it's like, yes, this one's still here, I haven't let go, but I'll come back to it. It's right there. And this is my focus because I'm getting a download over here. Yeah.
And when you get downloads, it's what I learned is all of us get ideas, what do they say in alchemy? Thoughts are electric.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people get those ideas, but how quickly you act on them, sometimes I listen to some people's songs. I'm like, oh, that sounds just like my song, So there are ideas that are very similar, but how quickly you act on them, or how well you finish up. And sometimes, you could sit on ideas for a long time and not finish them. And I go back into my stuff. I'm like, this is brilliant. Why haven't I worked on this? Why haven't I shared this?
Yes.
So, like, going with the topic today, it's a constant. It's important to revisit, and sometimes even an idea that you did 20 years ago can come alive today and be so relevant. Which I find so fascinating, because I'm like, oh, I was telling my cousin yesterday, my nephew, he was asking, what inspired you to write this song, Malaika? I think I performed it at the event in October. And I said, my own life stories. And then I looked back and I said, okay, there was a song originally sang by a woman called Miriam Chemmoss. And my parents having named me Miriam, I always looked up to her, and I was like, oh, okay, the version she sang was written by a man who was in love with a woman called Malaika, an angel, but he couldn't marry her because he was poor. And then I said, well, that's not a problem we have today, but we have different aspects of that issue where people place money over love. So then I was like, okay, my Malaika is going to be about a woman who would have married a certain individual had it not been for the issues surrounding money. And then, it's almost like I predicted my own problems.
Oh, you were getting that download and didn't even know it. Oh, it's so fun. So fun.
Then the song comes later. You're like, oh, wow, it's relevant right now. But that's not what I meant when I was putting it together, So, in fact, we heard there was a book that was written in the 70s or the 60s about the lockdown. Or there's a song from the 60s. I saw some rock song. I saw it online the other day. I saved it. And someone was talking about what would happen 50 years later, which is exactly what we're going through. Sometimes artists are very prophetic with their work, You don't know what the song really means or what it means, what the download means, but you have to bring it forth anyway. And then it makes sense much, much later.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh my goodness. I could sit here and talk with you all day, and we could have hours and days worth of this, but I will have you back again on another episode of Women Getting Visible, because your inspiration, your creativity is boundless, endless, and I love sharing you with others. So
Uh,
Yes, absolutely. So, everyone who's watching and listening today, I'm so happy that you could join us and meet the amazing Miriam Chemmoss. Are there any last words that you would like to leave with anyone today about where could we find your music, your writings, your inspirations? Where can we find you?
so I'm all over the web. For years, I was putting stuff out there before we even had social media. And, so my digital footprint goes way back. Um, for my writings, I used to blog on a WordPress blog. It's called my blog still exists, where I talk about different things. It's called the Golden Age of Freedom. So if you just look Miriam Chemmoss, the Golden Age of Freedom, you'll find it. And there I speak about mind, body, spirit, how to get free mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And the themes that I talk in my blog are the same themes in my music. My music is hard to categorize. I have it all over the internet as well. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, all of the all the platforms for music, present and past, as well as some on YouTube. And the YouTube videos, you will have a lot of lyrics. You can see a lot of these were downloads that came to me. My last album, I have a lot of singles and I have an album. My last album was called Lovebird, and that was inspired. That was a whole inspired album. My producer was very surprised. He said, "Where do you get these songs from?" And I said, "In my dreams, in my sleep, in my waking life, I could just be walking." He's like, "I've gone to Berkeley Music School. I've done this. I've done this. I cannot understand how you just have these downloads of music." He's like, "Where do you get these songs?" And I'm like, "I'm not that clever. I'm not a genius. They must come from somewhere. I'm just the vessel. I'm just the receiver." And so my last album is one that I feel like I'm bringing back to life, because right after I released that one, I'd never really had a chance to go on tour and do performances of it. But Lovebird is on iTunes. Some of the songs are on YouTube. Um, if you go on IMDb, you can see some of the things I've done. They've used my songs also in a few movie soundtracks. Um, and, there's some live performances here and there. Um, I'm getting back on stage. I want to do more stuff in different areas. There's a lot. I want to bring all this music back to life again now with all these tools we have. And so expect to see more of me online and offline in events, the stuff that I was always doing. I'm doing it now in a different way, as a different person. Um, it just never ends. It just never ends. So I
It's
hope I
so
had quite well.
Yes, so beautiful, so beautiful. So you heard it right from Miriam. Find Miriam Chemmoss on all the platforms that are out there for the music and the videos. And then we will have her back and share with us again another time. Thank you so much for joining us today, Miriam.
Thanks for having me, Christina. This was fun. I could do it nonstop.
Me too. All right, until next time, I'm Christina, and this is Women Getting Visible.